Huntsman.com.
Okay.
We rebuild robotic. We rebuild the robots actually. We buy them used. That's our main business is refurbishing
Refurb,
robots.
oh, okay.
But we do, I guess 25% of our business is doing installs. I do a lot of teaching.
Oh, okay.
Like how to use the interface, or how to program them? You're teaching your customers how to
I
program them?
teach them everything from putting a cage around a thing to programming, you know.
Okay.
A lot of the customers are new customers, so I give them a few days just to get them going so that they can read the manual, which is about 5,000 pages long. So they can get, you know, kind of moving the robot around without too much gear, I guess. That's the intent anyway. The 2-day training course is not a lot, especially for a new person. But they can
Not to give them a
do it.
false sense of security so they can hurt themselves?
I make sure that I try to make sure that the safeties are in place, and they are familiar with industrial equipment. I haven't hurt myself. A lot of people have been hurt by robots.
We're real informal, Bob, small group pretty much. And
Yeah.
once you get signed up, you'll get the meeting announcement once a week. You probably found us on Meetup,
Yes, I do.
and we'll send a meeting announcement up and telling you what we're up to. You'll find a link to the meeting announcement, so you can kind of see what's going on during the week if you want to look and see what I've typed in. Sometimes it doesn't get updated quickly, sometimes it does.
And sometimes the project doesn't actually get finished until an hour before the meeting.
Yeah, things change around. We're kind of flexible here.
Yeah.
The people are volunteering. Leroy does a lot of stuff here. Vicente does some stuff. Ray, everybody does their thing, and you're giving your time and your work. And we try to have a positive attitude toward the contributors. And it's all positive mental attitude environment. So in the meeting announcement, the first thing you run into is the link to meetup.com. It's right up there on the screen behind you.
Okay.
And that's the link to your meetup schedule.
You've already filled that out.
There's the meeting announcement. That's what we're looking at now. Here's the link to the meeting video. After you've been here and you know what you're up to and you think you're strong enough to watch this meeting in video, Leroy records it for us and makes it available on YouTube. And there's a link to it. Just click on that and it'll take you right to the meeting. In progress or historically, and sometimes hysterically.
I think you did that once.
The Google Plus session, Leroy manages a Google Plus site for the club, so if you want to discuss something, you have a topic you want to discuss, like we need to discuss our video recording stuff here. One of the things we've been trying to do is get resolution where we can see the screen in the meeting recording. We'd like to be able to see the screen when they're talking. And Leroy's got it now. We can put two screens together. It's really nice. So we're playing with that and looking at the best way to do that economically.
Which explains why there's a camera sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that.
And our theme here, for some of us more than others, our theme is cheap. We're cheap, eBay type people, and some even cheaper than cheap.
Well, yeah, I'll put in on that aspect.
If you don't like spending money, then you found the right place.
Okay.
Of course, we will actually spend money when we have to, but we just don't like it.
Yeah.
I like the shop.
I have the quick news section, which is just LoRa ran part 1. We're talking about LoRa this week. And and 5G lawmakers, things about 5G that's coming up, events on 5G, wearable motion detector modules out from a couple of weeks ago. Leroy's found a good cheap phone that we like. Some of us are Republic members, and we like that new cheap phone. So that's part of our cheap.
What's your cheap
nature.
phone you got?
Moto
It's-
E4,
It's a Moto E4,
Running Android?
running Android.
How much does it cost?
129.
Yeah. You can find them for like $50 a piece, brand
Yeah.
new.
And I can put my Verizon SIM card in it?
Verizon probably sells it.
Okay.
It has the fingerprint thing and
It's
for cheap.
it's a high-end, low-end phone. It's in the low-end class, but it's the highest.
The top of the low end
It's,
class.
the
it's the
best
top,
low-end phone
it's the
there
top of the
is.
line low-end phone there
Yeah.
is.
And so
And you want to get a SD card because the 16 gigs that's in there is not enough.
So, and also here's the Leroy's doing it this week. So there's his information on the meeting, similar to what you'll find on Meetup. Also, we have the link to other stuff at the bottom, last week's stuff, futures.
Stuff that
We
never
have,
worked.
yeah, the GitHub, the GitHub area there, if you know what GitHub is, there's our GitHub link. Leroy has that, Leroy and Jeremy duo. And links to the member groups if you want a corner, if you put an article up, like I did a couple of weeks ago, it's in Jim's corner. The garage door opener project, you can just go click on that and it'll show you my folder and stuff that's in it. And last week we had where is he? Marcus.
Yeah, down there in the purple.
Yep, he's
Oh,
there.
okay, yeah, there's Marcus there. Marcus's folder, last week his stuff was in there. So if you want a folder, let me know and I'll put up a folder so you can put stuff in it to share.
Okay, that sounds good.
And the participation notes, if you wanna see what we've been up to, when we're finished here tonight, I'll take what he's done and put it in our participation folder, so you go look back at history of what we've been doing, and see if there's anything of interest to you, and there's some other stuff. So that's it, it's, we try to keep everything, light and be positive about everyone's contribution. We try not to say negative things, but sometimes they can't resist zinging me for some reason. And Leroy sometimes it's fun to zing, but we try to avoid that. Any questions?
Questions are free, answers cost.
Questions are free.
And I am also relatively new here. I think this is my 5th or 6th meeting maybe.
It's a fluid group. Sometimes the room fills up and sometimes we have 4 or 5 people. Sometimes we don't have a topic and sometimes those are very fun. We get some very interesting topics in here. We just tend to have fun. Very informal. And so we start the meeting, actually we start showing up in the front area in the drink snack area about 4:30. We'll start popping up down there. And then about 5 o'clock we move down here and start setting up and chatting and seeing what's going on. And 5:30 we start the formal meeting. We try to. And sometime after that, Ray shows up, except for today. He was here early. We don't know. And Frank usually shows up late, and we encourage late entries. So you have a job, people do stuff, come in when you get here, that's fine. We like that. Leave early, that's fine. Just walk out, we don't care.
few people.
If you have to.
Yeah,
I travel a lot too, so.
okay. Drop in when you come by, you know, if you're not here for 6 months. Drop in.
It happens. Art,
It-
Art doesn't show up for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah,
Of course,
he
he's in
comes.
California most
Yeah,
of the time.
like, we got a guy in California who comes to our club.
Right.
Just like our cats, when we come in for the cats, that we've been gone for 2 weeks, and they say, "Were you like not here or something?" Yeah. Not like they care. I mean, no, but we care. Okay.
What was the model on the phone?
E4. Moto E4.
Plus?
The
The
plus is
Plus.
the plus is a little bit better, but no.
Maybe a little less reliable. Check.
Less reliable.
The specs are different on it, and he's done a lot of consumer report kind of stuff, and it may not be, it may not
Even
actually
though
be
it's
a better
plus,
phone.
it may not be.
I look on Amazon, you know the dance.
Free shipping, $79.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Is it compatible, and is it from Amazon, if does it have advertisements? Amazon does advertisements on there, just for saying. And it may not, you don't care about Republic anyways.
Boost Mobile has the E4 for $49.
Yep, you can find them for $50.
Free shipping. Okay.
Are we ready?
I was gonna make sure he's happy with that, so.
Oh.
Okay. All right, you ready?
I guess I'm ready.
All right, let's dance.
Alright, so, wait a second, do stuff, okay, maybe. So, this project this week, takes a bunch of LoRa nodes, and, LoRa is a wireless, a very, very low, wattage, wireless,
Yeah,
long distance protocol. Now, LoRa isn't really a networking, but LoRaWAN does networking.
yeah,
Has-
they're talking
has-
about 10-year battery life for these things.
Has much better, has networking things. Anyway, this project is set up to be a bunch of little sensor nodes that do temperature and humidity. And they're going to transmit, this one's already doing it, they're going to transmit to the gateway, which I've actually got 4 nodes. I've got 1 node out in the car because I was hoping to be able to get it to come through the wall and everything. Doesn't seem like it's working, but I was hoping. So there's node 1, node 2, and node 3, and we should see all 3 nodes show their temperature and humidity over here. That one just does temperature because of the sensor that's on it. It should show over here, and then I'm also got it set up so that it'll do a dashboard to a project called Crouton. So I'll pass these around. This one here that's long and flat is one of the sending units, and this one that's tall and skinny is one of the, or it is the only receiving unit and the gateway. So you probably saw that last week.
Yeah.
Plug this in. Oh, let's go over here to Crouton.
And the
So when I
gateway-
plug
the
this
gateway
in-
to the internet, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
when I plug this in, you can see here on my dashboard, there shouldn't be anything on the dashboard. Okay, there's a few things on the dashboard, but there's nothing. I'm going to connect it to my MQTT broker, and as soon as it tells me it's connected, it says it's not connected. Come on, connect. Oh. Why are you being a pain? There it goes. Nope, it connected for a second and disconnected.
That's good. Briefly.
There it is. Okay. So as soon as I plug this in, it already shows that there's 3 nodes up there, but as soon as I plug it in, it should show a 4th node. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to pass this thing around. As soon as it comes up, and you should start to see data show up on this thing too. I hope my battery's still good.
Yeah, 10 years. He's got a display on that LoRa. That's just the LoRa spec. So this is one of the transmitters.
There we go. Oh, and of course I just reset it. It should come up.
Okay.
It's gonna take it a second, I guess. I guess it's having a problem connected to the library.
Blame it on the library.
We always blame it on the library.
That's when you blame the connection on the library.
There,
There it is, it's come out.
I don't see any.
It's the default right there, blame it on the library.
I don't see any changes in my. Let's disconnect all these. Let's reconnect. On the receiving one, see, okay. See, there's no thing. Hit the reset button on the receiving. It's that little tiny button on the side. Send it back down here. There you.
Oh, he said it, he did it.
Did he reset it?
Yeah, the blue light flickered on and off.
Okay, now we're seeing the devices are connecting. Pop up. Come on. Keep going. More.
It's thinking you're
It's
expecting
trying,
too much.
it's thinking.
It's thinking.
It's
What,
thinking.
what is it doing?
The blue light's
There we
on.
go.
It's the library.
Okay.
So,
Alakazam.
like I said, node 2, which is this device here in the front, doesn't have a humidity, so it's just sending 0 for its humidity all the time. Node 1 says it's 82 degrees. Wow. That must be because we're holding it, or because it's on top of the.
It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like 82 in here.
Oh yeah, you're covering it up.
I'm gonna get up a little bit higher.
That's the receiver. So
Characteristics.
if we believe node 3 it's 71 degrees, and it's 4 degrees different in the front of the room than it is in the back of the room.
I'm skeptical.
I'm skeptical too.
It needs some calibration.
That's like its own microclimate if it's 4 degrees.
They actually were showing pretty good temperatures at the house. They all were within a degree of each other. So
Where's the 46%?
46% would be node 1, which is
How
the thing
often
he's
are
holding.
you
Cool,
sending?
that's cool. One of the things about LoRa is it is very slow communication.
Yep.
It's not fast communication.
It's very, very slow. Now, Crouton, this is a very neat dashboard. That device actually sends what you want to display up to Crouton, to the website. So I could have made it say anything up there. There's nothing configurable on the website or anything. All I need to do is tell it to start listening to certain words, which I'm listening for node 1, node 2, node 3, LFM IoT, which is me. Because this is a public thing, you have to make your names kind of unique. Because node 1 is so generic, everybody would probably say node 1, so you'd start getting weird data showing up.
Is there any security, Jeremy said?
Nope, there's no security. This, you can use security, but this, I opted not to use security for this. All I'm doing is sending temperatures, it's not a big
You must have
deal.
moist hands, Mike. 'Cause it jumped up to
Uh,
84 tonight. Oh, that might.
Is that what you're doing?
It went up like 12.
90 degrees,
Yeah,
yeah.
my palm breathing into it.
So explain your stack up on your
Look at it.
shields.
It's way down to 52 now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Explain what's on your stack
Okay.
there for the guys.
So, I can do that. These two use virtually the same hardware. It's a D1 Mini
What's a D1 Mini?
ESP8266.
Go, does that help you? That's a
Yeah.
little more, it's closer,
Yeah.
okay.
That's good there, yeah.
And then the next one?
We've got the OLED display. That's a common between the two. We've got the battery board and charger. And then we've got the LoRa board. So the only real difference is I've added the SHT30 temperature sensor.
Oh, okay.
SHT, humidity and temperature. I don't know what would the S stand for in that? I know the H and the T are humidity and temperature. That, we'll pull this down. We don't need this on. This one here. Pass that one around.
Okay.
This one here is just a Nuno, a LoRa board, and a DHT11 temperature, humidity and temperature.
And this is number 2?
That's number 3.
So the one that says WeMo First Alert is just your temperature and humidity sensor.
Mm-hmm. If we kill the power, you can see, we could pull it apart if you wanted to. The LoRa boards, I had to buy the boards themselves, and I had to buy the PCB and solder it all together because they don't actually officially make one of those.
Now, 3 hasn't changed. Is it hooked in? Is it on?
That's 3. You've got 3 in your hand, and no, it's not on. There's no power.
Yeah, it's not changing at all.
And I'm going to kill number 2, so that everybody can see number 2. Number 2 uses yet another board.
That's Marcus.
So number 2 is a LoRa 32U4 board, which is a clone of the Adafruit Feather LoRa board. It works pretty much identical to the Adafruit, but doesn't cost anywhere near as much. That is a DS18B20 temperature sensor. And that only does temperature, and it uses one wire. It's called Dallas Semiconductor. It uses one wire for both to ask it for information and then to send information back. They use a lot of those in industrial probes, the DS18B20s. And then I stuck it in a nice little case that cost me all of 50 cents from like the dollar store, and cut holes in the nice little case, and it still doesn't fit right.
I have a
Yep.
question for you. I don't know why you would ever do this, but,
Me either.
well,
But you did.
But I
and now
did.
it's over.
I don't know that you have, but could you have multiple receivers?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have to be identical?
No. In fact, several of the sketches that I made for this. One of them does not send information to the internet at all in any way, shape, or form, and it just displays. So if you wanted remote displays everywhere, you could do that quite easily using something like this. If you want it, in fact, I was actually thinking about this because of the hardware that I actually have. That would probably make a better gateway than this thing, because I could leave that plugged in 24 hours a day and not really worry about it. All I would need to do is add an Ethernet shield to it or something like that to let it actually gate the information out. The nice thing about using the D1 minis, they're small and you're able to carry them around with you or whatever. That one there that's got the display, like I said last week when I was just showing this off a little bit, the preview, if I was actually making this a real remote, I probably would take the display off, because that thing's eating up a ton of power just displaying for something that would be
Nobody's
3
ever
miles
really
away
seen it.
or something,
Yeah.
you know. You're right, for something that nobody would see. Or I would stick a button on it or something. If somebody walked up and hit the button, then it would say, yeah, this is the temperature here, or whatever. But for a demonstration kind of purpose, I wanted everybody to see that, yes, that says 82.96, 82.95. So it's sending the same information. The reason why it's a little bit different is because there's a rounding error when it actually sends the information. That's why I noticed that, but I sat there and I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and went, yeah, it's just a rounding error, because it actually says 82.65, 82.65. So there's for some of the numbers, there's just a small rounding error. Not a big deal.
Well, you're trying to measure to 100th of a degree, and if you're
Well, and we're not really displaying it out that far.
no,
So there's just a small rounding error when it actually sends it to here. It's not a big deal. In fact, you know, if I would have spent a little bit more time, I probably would have just rounded everything up. Like it says 82.5 now, well, that's 83 degrees. Should just round that up to 83. Anything below 5, round it down to 82, you know?
if you're trying to quantify the butterfly effect,
Oh,
you
I'm
probably need
trying-
more digits.
I'm trying to show that it can do more than
It's, I'm not being critical. It's,
yeah.
I thought it was just a joke.
I may have missed it. You got 3 stacks there.
No, I'm not going over that again.
Oh, I apologize.
No. The two devices are virtually
See, I'm not
the
the
same.
only
No,
one
you're
here,
not
see?
the same. You're not the only one.
You wanna hear it again anyway, don't you,
Yeah.
Jim? See, Jim wants to hear it again anyway.
So, this one here is the receiver. This one here is the sender. The common components are the LoRa board on both of them, the battery shield and the battery, and the D1 minis and the OLED.
He knows what a deal means, okay. He's better.
ESP 8266. Those are the common between the two. The sender has an extra SHT-30, which is a temperature and humidity sensor. And that's really, when you look at all of them that send, the components are pretty much the same. This device here has the LoRa chip already soldered to it. It's a single device. It acts like a Leonardo board. It actually shows up as a Leonardo. So all the common stuff, the LoRa shields,
So, which is your gateway? That's okay, that's your gateway.
but all three of these share.
They're all senders.
They're all senders, and they all share common base components. It's a LoRa board, microcontroller.
And are all three of those different LoRa boards?
No, no,
No, but yes?
no.
You have to think about it.
No, yes, but no.
Sort of, but
That's
not
where it's
right.
going. It gets the LoRa board. There's actually only two manufacturers of these boards, and both manufacturers actually, the one manufacturer licenses it from the people that actually make it, so they actually make it a little bit cheaper, which is weird. The licensed product is actually a little cheaper than the original, but I'm not going to try to figure that out. But as far as the LoRa specs go, they're identical. As far as slightly different markings because of who manufactured them, they're a little bit different. But no, I mean technically they're not really any different. They're pretty much the same. Each one of these, because of a different controller, a different, slightly different board, each one uses different pins. But I mean that's not really a difference. That's
So to start off, if I wanted to start off and make a gateway and make a, receiver, is it receiver, transmitter or receiver? Yeah, so if I wanted to start off, what would be your recommendation?
probably the easiest would either be with the LoRa 32U board or the Uno with this board. There's actually, with this one, there's no changes needed to be made with the pin numbers or anything. There's small changes that need to be made with the pin numbers for this, but these two are already soldered on the boards. They're already done. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just need the solder pin headers to it. The boards for the D1 minis, I bought the PCB, I bought the lower boards, I bought some small components to.
You did a lot of work with those.
It ended up costing a little bit more, but it was well worth the effort. This is about $15. This board is about $15. This whole device was about $17. So for just a few dollars more, I got a whole device with a microcontroller already on it.
And there's Laura.
I've got links in my write-up that I just finished. I've got links to where to buy some of this stuff too. So. But yeah, I mean, if you're just getting started with it or whatever, that's probably the way to go.
You got the links in the meetup, meeting announcement?
I just finished. I just finished my my write-up, so I'll put them somewhere where people can find them. But
Seems like we have some interest.
so one of the limitations of this crouton display though is it doesn't hold any information. It doesn't hold the data. So you actually lose data. I found a wonderful tutorial on how to actually send data to a Google Sheets. using an ESP8266. I modified it slightly,
That is cool.
and
It is cool.
I was getting wonderful data being sent, and then I realized that it wasn't sending it to Crouton. It was just sending it to Google Sheets, and I said, well, that's a problem. I want it on both. I want to be able to. So I stopped it from sending it to Google Sheets for the time being until I could figure out why the two weren't working together. Because under my test conditions, it was working beautiful. And the only thing I can think of that's different between my test condition and the actual usage of this thing is I'm using an OLED shield. Yeah, I'm wondering if the OLED isn't slowing it down enough where it can't send it. Crouton uses MQTT. You send it a JSON string of devices, which I've got right here, maybe. Oh, I got more stuff. So probably have a hard time seeing that. This is your JSON string that gets sent to set up your devices, and it's a big long string. So what I ended up doing, that the MQTT library for the Arduino has a limitation of 128 characters. This thing is way more than 128 characters. So what I had to do was modify the library slightly. It wasn't hard. The guy who designed the library actually told how to do it. So I've got it set to do it. But by doing that, I ended up saying, well, now I'm going to break out and do 4 different Crouton devices. And in the long run, it actually made it easier, because when I send the data now and it sends a node number and a temperature, I can now just call an array up and say, just put it all in the array and send it and make it go away. So it actually, doing it the way that I wanted to do it originally was such a pain, and this was just made it easy when I broke it out into 4 different devices.
When you slap the data into the sheet there with a conditional formatting,
Yeah.
did you already have that programmed in, or did you do it after you put it in the sheet?
The conditional formatting, I did it after I sent 4 or 5 things up there.
Okay.
I went back and I put some conditional formatting in so I could highlight some of that stuff a little
Yeah.
bit better.
In the column.
In the column,
Gotcha.
yeah. So,
That looks good, because you can really pick it out.
yeah, so, 1 is blue, 1 is green, 3 is blue, 2 is yellow. And you can see what actually ended up starting to happen is it actually started to send it in order, which,
Like, after you set the conditional formatting as a result, or just because that's what it did?
is it not working?
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, the stream is bad.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll screw with that sometime.
It really.
I'm recording it too, so.
Okay. Oh, here it goes. It caught it.
It wasn't sending it in order, and then it decided to send it in order?
It just sort of started happening, and it started to order itself, and I was kind of like, well, okay.
You got it.
Each one of my senders is set for 15 seconds. It doesn't matter if 2 of them are trying to send it at the same time. LoRa has the ability to autocorrect for some of that. So it can actually receive two different ones at once. But 15 seconds is rather quick for, yeah, I mean, how often does this stuff really change?
So you're actually set up as a receiver and sender?
Yeah.
And is it MQTT that is sort of, that's using that in your sketches? Or,
MQTT is only for Crouton.
okay, so,
The LoRa library actually provides a sending method.
okay.
I have read the LoRa specs probably a dozen times. I am just as confused today after I'm probably more confused after reading the stupid specs on the thing than I was before I even started. LoRa is, it's very, very interesting. It sets up multiple channels. It sets up multiple ways to get this. It's incredibly slow, but it's also fast. It could go as fast as 21K, which for just sending some data across is pretty fast.
And I think we talked about it last week a little bit. I mean, ideally, what you really care about is because you're sending small chunks of data.
Right.
I mean, you're sending temperature. What is that? How many bytes is that?
20 bytes at
Yeah,
most.
yeah, and if you're only sending that, I mean, if you're out in a cornfield and you're sending temperature from something, I mean, that's
And
what you care about.
and if you do it the way you should do it, not the Leroy way, which is every 15 seconds. If you're doing it once an hour or once every 2 hours, or even if you could set your device up for like an interrupt, so if something actually trips it, you could have it send. So, there's multiple ways to do this. Temperature isn't the only thing. You could set it up for like passive infrared. You could set it up for all kinds of other sensors. Temperature just seemed to be the easiest because I had a bunch of temperature sensors. But I've read the specs on LoRa a dozen times, and I am baffled how this thing actually works, and how it gets
Magic.
the distance.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing technology.
And you've done the distance check, I think you guys.
Yeah, I have gotten, under less than ideal situations, I have gotten 5.5, 6 miles out of it. I think the specs say 8 miles.
On the meeting announcement, there are some charts that show some comparisons, distances and things like that, and some charts.
LoRa works mostly line of sight, too. So, if you get your antenna up outside the building, and you have other antennas, as long as they can see that antenna, you're going to be all right. Even if it's omnidirectional, it pretty much works as a line of sight kind of deal. Which I've actually got I left one of these out in the car, and it's sitting there transmitting, but it can't get through the wall and all this other stuff. It's in very bad. It's down in the car. I made it as hard as I could possibly could, just to see if I could get it to work, and it's not working. So, but if you could get your antenna outside, up away from it, under less than ideal situation, though, it was pretty much line of sight, but I got about 5.5 miles off of it. I was sending GPS data, which is a whole lot more than 20 bytes. So, because I wanted to know where I was at on the map, so I could actually go, okay, here's this and here's this. Oh, that's the furthest point, 5.5 miles. Cool. But Yeah. More questions?
How much could you save on your battery if you took the display off? You figure that it'd
Quite a
be-
bit.
Yeah, the display puts it out of the, you're killing the battery.
Yeah.
The display, it pretty much does away with talking about the battery life.
I haven't. There is a very low power option for the D1 minis, and I'm not using that, so it's been running this whole time. The low power option will actually shut everything off, but you need to run from D0 back to reset so that it can reset itself to wake up. And unfortunately, I was going to do that with this, but unfortunately, I just didn't have the room to add another wire to it. But this thing, I did not charge the battery up. I used it all last week. I brought it to the meeting, used it for an hour or so at the meeting. It's been running now for another hour, so the battery, I mean, it lasts a good long time.
Well, it's not the size of an auto 12 volt by any stretch.
No, that's only a 3.7 volt battery.
Well, we absolutely.
Oh, something killed it. I've lost my connection to something. But now see, this one here just died. Poor battery. I haven't charged this battery in 2 weeks though, so.
Yeah, you're probably talking hours and in terms of hours with the display on, and for 10 years or for
Yeah,
maybe weeks with that without the.
if we were actually putting this out in the field somewhere, we would set it to only come on, and it would only be on for, brief period of time, maybe 30 seconds, probably less than that. You would set it to go into deep sleep mode for 2 hours, and then come on and grab its data, send it,
Throw it out and go back to sleep.
and go right back to sleep. And under that condition, the battery could last for a very, very, very long time.
And you're not confined to that size battery either.
I am not. That battery actually came off of a quadcopter, so it's one of those
Yeah.
crappy, cheap.
Lipos.
Yeah, it's a crappy, cheap battery, but it works really well. So, I think that battery cost me all of $1 from China, and I'm quite happy with how it works. The biggest problem with using this battery is it doesn't quite fit in the connector right. I've had to kind of squeeze the connectors together to get it to work. But, that's it. That's what I got.
Cool. Looks like that camera dropped out.
That camera shouldn't have dropped out. I've still got it.
It's the clock's not moving is a clue. The small camera is still alive.
Oh, well, that's neat.
It's a feature.
So is that that'll be in your folder, Leroy?
Yes, it is.
It
I
is.
actually shared it on the G Plus thing too because I missed getting it into the meeting announcement. But I'll make sure that it's on the website so that next week it can get in the media announcement.
May take me a while, but I'm very interested.
Yeah, we'll show this in last week's and include the link.
My code is on GitHub. It's on the club's GitHub. I didn't put it on my personal GitHub because if I was doing this like I said, I would do it a little bit different. This was just for demo purposes.
And what do you mean by that when you say you do it different? You do it?
Well, the time limits, basically. I probably would make this thing go to sleep
Okay.
for
Right.
for an extended period of time. You know, I wasn't worried about that with the demo because you got to be able to see how it actually works. And if I make it go to sleep forever, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll be
yeah.
here
Come
for
back
weeks
next week.
waiting for it to
Well,
do something.
That's when you're doing anything. It's like you gotta have a test mode and then you
Yeah.
have to have a real mode.
Yeah.
And real mode's gonna every hour. Test mode is every minute. 'Cause
Right.
is it
Well,
working?
and that's
Is it
pretty much
working?
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Is it working?
The demo mode is every 15 seconds, where
Yeah.
real mode, there's no way I would make this thing do it every 15 seconds. I'm even sitting there going, wow, that's crazy. Why am I doing this?
Those displays are real nice looking too.
Jeremy, sure.
Yep, everybody straighten out, security's here.
Professor?
You know, you're right. It actually still shows the Automation Technology Club. It hasn't showed anything that I did.
Got something to look at, I got something to look at.
Jump over it.
Yeah,
I think my new cameras should be here tomorrow. They're in Grove City. They should be here tomorrow. We'll try it.
okay, I've got some cameras too that I'm not using. Windows 10 doesn't like those USB cameras, they just doesn't. And also my computer's used up.
So, I don't think I've got anything else. I think that's pretty much everything. I think I've covered it all. MQQT, Crouton, Google Sheets.
Anybody have anything for
Laura.
next week they wanna do?
I know what I was gonna say, because, Crouton, the website that can't show you anymore, I'm sending data to Crouton. Crouton also provides a way to send data from the website to a device. So you could actually make a button on the website to switch something on and off. That, I really am digging this Crouton thing. So I'm thinking next week maybe doing some sort of like
Addendum.
make a button and turn a light on or something. Using nothing more than a D1 Mini and a D1 Mini.
Maybe I show the basic computer I am working on.
Yep, he's got a basic computer.
It's very good because it has no internet access, no security problems.
Yeah. Except for the human
That's a way of
structure.
marketing.
Turn on instantly.
That's a way to market it.
What cost $1.70, including shipping.
Basic computer as basic the programming language?
Basic.
Or a
80s computer. I don't know.
Oh, okay,
Forward to the past computer.
blast from the past.
Last, yes. Something like that. The good thing is that the basic comes with commands to control the I/O. You can connect ultrasonic sensors, servos, anything. The basic has the function.
For less than $2.
I2C, serial, and it's inside it's added to the language.
The $2 one that you're talking, that's the one you made, right? Not the one you ordered?
No, the one I ordered from Japan is a finished product.
Right.
Based on the concept. It's another is a closed, it's not an open source thing. I'm working on open source stuff, but all the information is in Japanese, everything. I spend days trying to figure out I use Google to translate, but the translation is not technical, correct,
Oh, my
okay? What? Try to solve it.
That is
And I
rough
use
going.
all the libraries I put in the same folder, in Arduino folder. I have all the files, and I'm assessing how this file connects with the other one, and I'm correcting the stuff that doesn't work, and finally it's working. The thing is working very nice. Can access SD card. Has NCTIS video output, PS2 keyboard.
NTSC.
Yeah, in,
NTSC, right? And you can save your applications inside the flash of the same microcontroller. You can program it to start up in your application to have a standalone stuff that you plug in and it's working. You can use the board with your computer using a serial terminal. Just the board and program everything, do everything with it. The good thing is that you can have like a robot, for example, with the small board, and you can take you connect your computer and you have all the listing of the software is there. You don't need to go to Arduino using a sketch. No, it's a interpreter.
like a directory.
You have
It's
all the control there, right there.
Yeah.
So you rewrite your lines and execute and upload. And there isn't you don't need any special computer and anything.
That's what it's reminding me of.
Like,
Sam.
like a pickaxe.
It's absolutely
You're talking,
cheap.
you
Yeah.
think, yeah,
From Parallax.
It's great.
yeah.
You can play songs, tons like music. I have it working, but it's a lot of connecting stuff. I will have time, half an hour maybe enough to try something, just to show.
Well, yeah.
But the next week I will make more stuff to, for example, try the ultrasonic distance sensor to some stuff. On the computer is this board here. It's $1.60 free shipping from China. It's a ARM microcontroller, 32 bits, running at 74 megahertz,
Megahertz.
and it has 64K for RAM, 20K for RAM. It's very powerful.
Run Commodore
Can be
64 software.
programmed in the Arduino environment, okay, with a serial adapter. And this is just connectors. This is the RCA connector for the video. You only need 2 resistors to generate the video signal. Next week I will use a cable to put the screen directly in the TV. There is the PS2 keyboard. I use a level translator for the 2 signals because this board works in 3.3 volts and the PS2 keyboards use 5 volts signals. Maybe this chip has many 5 volts tolerant IOs, but the Japanese guy choose one port that is not 5 volt tolerant. And I will try to change it to don't use the level translator. The idea is to use the less possible components. Okay, the switches are the jumpers for programming. I put out of the board for easy turn on and off to programming, and the reset button. All this stuff is not necessary. It's there for developing. I will try to connect this to all the stuff. I am using as a screen. This is the keyboard, the PS2 keyboard. Can be used anyone. Any monitor, any TV with RCA video input. It's a video composite.
Buzz video, okay.
And found in the basement this DVD player that was the power supply was damaged. I corrected and I am using like a monitor, like a video monitor for this. Power supply for this. 2 hours ago, I destroyed one of these boards because static electricity. In the basement there is a carpet. I was working trying to collect everything, and I saw the spark. I programming a new one quickly, and let's see how it goes.
So you ordered more than one from Japan?
More time I spent was to rewrite 4 demo programs to show how it works. It's a small graphic application, a small sound application, a small blinking LED, so you can control the I/O of the board, and there is a onboard LED for general purpose.
So you're having to manually program it. You have a manual program that's built in. You can't program it.
Yeah, everything manually.
But if you lose the program, you have to manually program.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you can connect a SD card. It's already in the software. It's not physical SD card, and save everything in the SD and go to your computer and transfer or whatever you want.
Oh,
You,
okay.
you remember the Commodore 64?
Yeah.
The Ataris?
Yes.
The TRS-80s?
If he brings in a cassette recorder, I'm
The
shooting
Timer
myself.
Sinclair
Circa
1000.
1982.
All those, yes, yeah.
But the good thing is that it's a standalone system that
Well, Jeremy would like it. There's no security issues.
No security, no security problems.
Yeah, no security, one security.
Except the static bunches.
keyboard.
No, the PS2 keyboards, they're still around. They won't die, will they? They just won't die.
Basic.
Tiny basic, okay. TB.
Tiny basic.
You take all the stuff out of the bottom of the, take the DVD player and everything and mount your,
No, it's
Basic in there?
Everything's working. No, just correcting the power supply.
but you can make yourself a teeny tiny basic laptop.
Okay, now I have 4 programs already written an hour ago. I can load. First of all, you can
DIR
files
file.
common, and you have the 4 programs. The number 1 is the LED blinking. Number 2 is 1000 counter. The 3 is random circles, and the 4 is Imperial March, just a small part. Okay? Let's load. The first one is the
Yeah.
blinking LED is in the port PC 13. Just run, and there is the LED, the green LED blinking. Okay. Usually the basic computers use Control C to stop this one. Use escape to stop the execution. Okay, let's load the number 2. This is the 2000 counter. Okay, it's run.
Cool.
There's a counter using big fonts.
You don't have any delay on the counter at all? Any delay?
The delay is 100 milliseconds.
Okay, okay.
I can
was
change.
gonna say,
Towards the bottom.
that's a slow process there.
It was towards the bottom, right
No,
before
look,
the
look,
go-to, label.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here is the delay in the weight, is in the
Yeah.
100.
Line 120 says wait 100 milliseconds. Then
What
130
delay
go
do you
to
want?
line 40.
What do you want, 500?
No, we're just
Yeah,
showing
just-
him
yeah,
the
just trying to-
program.
yeah.
Cause he said it was really slow.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure there was a delay in there.
Now is
Yeah.
10 milliseconds.
Okay. What do you do? Just take the delay out.
Huh?
If
Take,
you
take the delay all the way out.
Nah.
Take it low.
Okay,
you
let's,
won't- you won't be able to get out, you may
load
not be able to
number
get
three.
out. Escape should still work.
Number 3 is under the graphic sample. Circles.
Oh, circle.
Oh, it's great.
Random circle. And the last one is the
Very much.
match, but
Part of it.
Now, can I ask you, when you're talking about the instructions being in Japanese, how did you figure out that instead of Control C, you had to use escape? Was there at least a basic set of instructions?
No, I use the Google Translator and put the strange characters for different lines, because the manual has the basic commands in English, load that, and you go aside to try to understand the explanation of the command. But I only saw a 10% of the information, just being, trying to figure out how it's working this.
I've used Google Translate when you can't find some of the documentation, but it's in Chinese, and it's messed up. It's still like, you still have to interpret what it's actually trying to say.
Well, my apologies
I think that
for
the
getting
concept
off
is
the
very
subject
interesting,
here, but-
maybe for the schools.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing, it's, any TV, any screen, I am buying the small screen for cars, that costs $13.
Yeah.
Has the NTS AC and the keyboard, you can buy keyboard for $2 in several, like, Salvation Army stores or something.
Good
PS2
one.
keyboards, really cheap. And you can make this, well, maybe under $20 or less. Nothing. It's
Neat.
interesting for learning or something, I don't know. For me, it's like to go back to the computers from the
That's
80s.
a flashback, for sure.
Yes, I like.
Let's program Star Trek in there and
Play Pong.
play Pong.
Space
I
Invaders.
remember spending hours typing that Star Trek game in. It was like 4 or 5 pages long, and then you fly around and you kill Klingons.
Yeah.
Hey, what's life about?
Flying around killing Klingons.
Maybe next week I will make a good case and additional demos of something, I don't know.
Cool.
It's fun. I like it. That's it.
Anything else? Okay.
Well, okay, not necessarily.
Security. we-
About-
No, it's
about
not.
security.
This is not tech related. Actually, it's a bit more maker related than tech related, really. I just thought I'd just kind of put out a pitch here. So I'm looking into starting a local Cincinnati lockpicking meetup, and I've gone down to the I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Hive 13.
Hive 13, yeah.
Hive 13 down
513.
in Cincinnati. Well, like I've been down there a few times, and they had a bunch of stuff left over from some lockpicking courses they ran years ago, and I've been going through some of that, and I've been looking into possibly starting like a monthly meetup for lockpicking down there, possibly. We'll see what happens. I don't have a set date yet, but it's more likely going to be more of a monthly or maybe once every 2 months thing, not a very frequent thing, but, yeah, I've actually put up a survey just to see if anyone's interested, so I thought I'd just put out a little pitch for that.
Send me a note and I'll put it in the meeting announcement, let people know if they're interested parties.
Okay.
It's gonna be a little odd group to pick people out of here for lock picking.
Electronic lock picking.
Yeah.
Electronic lock
No, I'm just
picking,
kidding.
yeah.
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
have,
Okay, it's more of a, it's definitely more of a
Yeah.
more of a makerspace thing than an electronics thing, but,
Okay.
I've been putting out,
I have
yeah, I've been
some
putting out-
padlock shims, a nice lockpick set, and I've got a clear padlock. I'm
Oh,
guessing
so
you've
you
got
can
clear
see it?
padlocks, right?
I actually don't. I don't particularly like them too much, but
Well,
I know some
for
people do. Yeah.
some people they don't visualize the tumblers so easily. It's nice for them to be able to look through the padlock, see what they're doing. That way, when they go to get a normal padlock, it's much easier to get into that one.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'll send over like my little survey for that, just to kind of get a sample of who might be attending. I don't know when it might start, but just yet. But I'm kind of looking into some stuff for that. But yeah, it's probably gonna be it's at this point it looks like it's probably gonna be down at Hive 13, and it's probably gonna be like a